Here I am again, floating through the silence in my cold skin. My body is wearing thin. My fears tell me I'll never win. My body is wearing thin. And there's darkness here. The whole world I fear. In my room I seem to drown. But I won't let them take me down. I won't let them take me down. I won't let them take me down, down, down. I'll rise and I'll fall again, fighting off the violence in my cold skin. My body is wearing thin. My fears tell me I'll never win. My body is wearing thin. And there's darkness here. The whole world I fear. In my room I seem to drown. But I won't let them take me down. I won't let them Anywhere you go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Monday, November 28th, 2016, and, yeah. Where's my mouse cursor? There we are. That's moving a lot quicker than it should. Oh, no, it's good, okay. Yeah. So, when we stopped last time, we answered a lot of questions about, online networking, how it should be structured, and how Epic structures it, and what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what the actual theory behind it is. Not something I really have a whole lot of experience with, but the actual, concept of it, something I can help with. So, it's basically something along the lines of you have, in the Unreal Engine 4 model, which is not the only model there is, there's plenty of other reasons for it, and let's say you're doing MMO, you might want to have something a bit more efficient than, having one server have to control all, the sum of all states, or the union of all states, right? So ignoring the shared state, but just all the redundant ones plus a shared. Venn diagrams. Not, not the center, not either side, but everything here, but not the outside. Anyway. And even then, it's not exactly true, because, the HUD and stuff like that only has to be on the client, it doesn't have to be on the server, but whatever. Yeah, then you communicate between those by having the clients send communication to the server saying, hey, I want to do whatever, and the server says, okay, I'm validated that what you're doing is correct, and then it sends the data back somehow, either by replicating positions, so taking the objects and basically saying okay, at this time slice, all of these objects are in this state. At this time slice, all of these objects are in this state. Or by sending a function back, basically saying, okay, the light was switched on, switch on the light. And then on the client side, a function will call and cause all that stuff to happen. Which is more efficient, because instead of being or depending on what situation it is, of course. Let's say it's a particle system, instead of being okay, all the particles are in this position, it'll be okay, start a particle position with this, these parameters, go. And those parameters are 5 numbers, let's say, right? Maybe less, maybe more. So, have thousands of things happen from 4 or 5 numbers. It's better just to send those 4 or 5 numbers and have all the rest happen in the client, as opposed to having stuff be replicated like that. I mean, particle is not really the best example, because it's not persistent values that would be replicated for each of the particles. It's like a system, right? But you kind of get the idea of, the scale. If something scales better for a character movement, instead of having a function call with a parameter of the movement happen each time, it's just to replicate the values. Because you'll probably have less to send when you translate from movement to function call to movement versus just replicating the value itself, since the value has to be... Anyway, it's not important. Kind of the idea. Anyway, so as we were talking about that, we were also trying to figure out what was wrong with Visual Studio and why it wouldn't allow me to use get pset coordinates, even though I've seen it used in other parts of the code. And maybe you saw the error in the 30 minutes I was staring right at it. But apparently no one in the chat at that point did, so we'll figure that one out now. Oh. Nice. I didn't realize this, yeah. Sorry, a song. Anyway, it didn't say it had a singer associated with it, but I guess the actual artist is a singer, so it's awesome. Anyway, I really like the song. It's not important. Probably one of the best ones in the album. Anyway, yeah, so I'm going to switch to the error, and I'll give you a couple seconds to see if you can find it yourself. So remember, IntelliSense was complaining about this not existing. And, oh, 1 second. on. Samir says they can't read. Oh, their monitor. I was gonna say, am I sending out too small a resolution? But it's their monitor, okay. And I'm also giving a pause for the people on YouTube so they don't have to, you know, pause to find out. Give me another 5 seconds. Okay, so the thing is, when this says this isn't defined, that actually is true. And the reason why is because we're in a global namespace. Because we are in a global namespace, we're outside the class. Because we didn't associate with the class. But of course, when I see that error here, I'm thinking, well, why can't you? You can see it over there. I'm trying to look at the bug here when the bug was way up here, right? A whole 2 lines ahead. No, I didn't turn my webcam back on. There we are. Yeah, so that's closer to what we want it to be. Okay. And of course, I didn't actually try debugging, and I just saw it, and I was like, okay, that's probably it. It's actually, I'm pretty sure I even checked for that, but somehow I didn't see it. Anyway, so somehow I didn't see it last time, but whatever. I think part of it's because TRA F injector is so wide that it kind of looked like, at glance, like the green chunk over here, even though it wasn't green. It wasn't the class that this is a member of. Anyway. Simple mistake. Anyway. So get possible moves. Now we have the current piece. So get piece of coordinate. And T-ray F possible move. Possible moves equals oh, sorry. If current piece move equals current piece state dot possible moves. Okay. So now we have the possible moves, so which includes the directions, whether they recurse, and I can't remember what the other member is. Oh, the type of move, whether eats or moves or both. So now we have that, we can start trying to find the oh. Actually, I'm gonna change this slightly because we had get possible moves piece location. We should probably do it based on piece state. Very interesting song there. Okay, so and the reason why I want to do this let's do piece, yeah. The reason why I want to do p-state is because if I have AI or something that I want to try recursive moves for, I don't want to have to base it on actors that are spawned on a level. I want to give it something more abstract from that to give me responses for that. It'll still be locked to the level because the level is going to be important, but if I want to modify the state, I want to be able to do that, right? Okie dokie, so get possible moves, p-state, piece. Which means I'm gonna have to change how this is called, but that's fine. I don't think it's called yet, but yeah, you know. Yeah, I'll, it's a copy. It's gonna be a pretty big copy, too, for a performance standpoint, but, it's probably better than, well, not better, but it's easier than having that extra little bit there. So it's not piece, that blah, each time. T-array, F int vector output. Okay, so, actually, let's have this be up here. Okay, right. So now we want to get possible moves, so, we'll need to recurse through all that stuff, so, okay, so, let's actually open up our previous version of it. Saying Visual Studio Code's not installed. I installed it. I'm pretty sure I installed it. Look. Okay, well, I apparently didn't install Visual Studio Code, so I'll do that right now. Let's open up Firefox. GPU might work on a Mac Pro, nice. For some reason, I get the feeling you're not talking about the recent Mac Pro that kind of looks, well, recent as in like 2 or 3 years old at this point. Looks kind of like a trash can. Assuming you're talking about an older one, right? I know I download it. Macro 1.1.
Remind me of who I really am. Confine me and hold me again.
We're running a GT 7300. Okay. Okay, there we are. No. Okay, registers an editor, but doesn't set default. Okay. I don't think that will set a default. Oh, no desktop icon. No, it's not open yet. The first Intel Mac Pro, yeah, okay. That sounds more likely. Sorry everyone for this colossal waste of time. Funny how much of this is actually like Node.js and stuff like that. Microsoft hired a lot of people. Thanks for opening a web browser there, Microsoft. It's like, hey, getting started. Thanks, Microsoft. So let's open folder. Open reason. Why did I talk about open reason? There was no reason. C in real projects. Check it 4.3. That wouldn't matter. It would need to be on my data drive. Archive. Folder 4 projects. Check it. Source. Hey Park, welcome to the chat. Okie dokie. Now we can go and just first off refresh what we were actually trying to find out from that. Oh yeah, get possible moves. So that would be in game state, I believe. Actually, probably increase the file size a little bit, or font size a little bit. File size, what even that be? This good for everyone? I hope so, actually. It's probably the same size as... Yeah, it's the same size as the other one, so sure, why not? Maybe a little bigger, even. Tether spawns, don't need to know that, don't need to know that, don't need to know that. Don't need that, don't need to know that. can select piece. I think I actually had that be on the piece now I think of it. Oh no, I didn't. I did this. So get possible moves. Okay, here's what I'm looking for. Okay, so create the output, then I create the first level moves here, so I get the allowed moves from the piece. Origin is location, and then I keep, yeah. Here. So I loop through all the first level moves, and do a while loop within here to see if I can keep moving out. The moment when you start using uniform, can't even make a Rubik's Cube face rotate. Yeah, I mean that's all your code, right? The actual design behind it's not too hard. It's just 9 key or kind of 9. What am I talking about? $24 cubes. Oh no, 26 cubes because top and bomb. So just, there's no modeling involved with that. But yeah, like actually making it move, that would be interesting interface. Probably what I would do is I would have it be based on the mouse or touch or whatever you use, but and then do traces, find out where it is, and as you move left or right, say you want to move this cube to the right. So then it bases, or whatever, so you can then base one of the pivot points off of it. You probably want to have probably want to have the how can I describe this? It's not visible. Oh. What you probably want to have like these pens here, standard XYZ axis. Each of these pens would probably align with 3 pivot points in a line, and then it would just be a matter of determining which of the 3 you want to pivot by 90-degree increments. Well, by discrete increments, or by any increment during the animation, but like snap to the 90s. So whether you want to pivot around top mill or bottom, top mill or right mill or left, front middle or back. I believe that's all of the axes that all of the pivot points that a Rubik's Cube has, because any rotation of it would just be rotated the same pivot. You just need to keep track of which one's facing where, right? But you can just do that by seeing the cube associated with it. The cubes associated with it on the outer sides would be different, but that's, pivots within the cube So you have this. It would rotate. Actually, you need more than 3 because you'd have to have 7. So you'd be yeah. So sorry. So it'd be like a sheet. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 3. Sorry, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. There we are. Yeah, so you actually need more than just 3 of these. You need, you know what? Maybe I can draw it. I don't know if I know I didn't, calibrate my Wacom. We need more than that, right? You'd, oh, there we are. I just dusted this not too long ago. Yeah, you would need, like I said, for these, you would need 3 of each. I guess that would be 9. Anyway, because you're only rotate around the center of each axis. But the thing is, there's yeah, there'd be 9 planes you can rotate. So you would need, yeah. So there. So come on. Oh. I have a messed up brush, it seems. Shape dynamics. There we are. Hardness. There we are. So you could have, oops. You have okay, that kind of fell apart, but you can have those 3 planes. You can have these 3 planes. Oops. Then you can have doing it really quick, obviously. I probably should have used a mouse with this. So you can have rotation around. No. This axis around that axis, or around that axis in one of that pivot, 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 that pivot areas. So you have 9 possible pivot points, each of them locked to just one axis, right? Because this can't rotate inward, it's a plane, right? It can only spin around itself. I mean, a plane can spin in any of the 3 axes in the real world, but in a Rubik's Cube it would run into another plane, right? So it can only spin around around that area. So you need to keep track of how these guys go like this, how these guys go like this, and how these guys go like this. But no matter how the cubes on them are oriented, as long as you only snap to the 90s, because, you know, otherwise you can't, you know. Well, you'd break a Rubik's Cube if you actually did that in the real world, right? Then it will always still be these planes, but the actual blocks that represent them will be shifting around. But you still only need to track the axes, right? So hope that it helped. Did it help? So I make the pieces that the planes touch, rotate with it when I trace the mouse in that direction. So what I would do is I would, when you trace the mouse, you'd see which of the cubes it touches. And then from which direction you move, you can infer which direction it wants to go. So you say, I have a cube, and I have a direction I want to go. I will therefore be able to, or there's a way to do it. This is all UX, right? You can choose whatever interface you want to do it with. Okay, so Perak, I feel like you're just distracting me. This is the point of the stream. The point of the stream is not to make the game. The point of the stream is to have a good stream where a game is being made, right? There is no distraction, right? If it's entertaining, it's not a distraction, right? So, yeah, exactly, Mayor. So, however you want to design the interface, be it having buttons that tell you to rotate, like maybe you have the Rubik's Cube here and you have buttons over here, rotate this direction, rotate this direction, rotate this direction, right? Or maybe you have it based on the gesture or something. When you click on a cube, you'll know which plane you're associated with. Well, when you click on a cube, you'll know one of 3 planes is associated with. You then have to have an interface to be able to determine which one of the 3 it is. But regardless, once you know, you can just drag your mouse and have it rotate in that direction. And from there, it's just a matter of finding out if you win or not or whatever, right? It's just physically rotating that pivot point, which will rotate all actors' cubes in that, or components if you want to do it that way, in that cluster, in that plane, right? But making sure that it's not based on You can make so rotations based on the cube face is facing you. Okay, so you rotate the entire cube, and whatever face is facing you, you rotate in that plane. That could work. It might be a little bit difficult for you to rotate the center ones, because you won't be rotating it in the plane of the screen, you'll be rotating it into the screen, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to grab it, it would be on a 9-degree angle, you couldn't reach your mouse around the side to turn it that way. There's a bunch of ways of doing it, but yeah, it's just, yeah. The main point is that you would have, on here, 3 axes. Each axis has 3 pivot points. So one pivot point would be, I don't know why I just don't use this thing up here, but whatever. One pivot point would be here. One pivot point would be, you know, there, and one pivot point would be there into it. One would be there, one would be there, one would be there. In the plane, obviously, it's hard to see. Like, this would be covered. Like, this would be occluded. And this would be occluded too. But, because it's covered, but, you know, if it wasn't, it would be there, right? Same thing there, same thing there. And just a matter of which of these is in a given, like, any given orientation, right? I'd probably want to not move, like, not have a movement of one of the pivots rotate the axes, just rotate the actors around the axes, so you don't have to worry about compound rotations and having, you know, this guy rotate fit there and that guy rotate to fit there or whatever. Just have the actual cubes themselves be rotated on that, so you don't have to ever track their state. It's just whatever state they are plus the offset. Oh, new state. Whatever state they are plus the offset. Oh, new state, right? That'd be what I think of from someone who hasn't actually done it, right? So, just kind of thinking. So anyway, let's keep going. Right. So we need to get the origin. Try to make it simple, yeah. So f int vector origin equals piece dot coordinate if piece dot if origin dot x is less than 0, or origin dot y is less than 0, or origin. Let's just concern ourselves with this here. Then we're going to assume it's a invalid coordinate. So we'll return a empty array. For if possible, move start direction or initial in possible moves. Actually, I don't even need to do that. And we don't need to do null polar check because it's a U-struct. We know it's always going to be on there. It may be uninitialized, but it'll always be on there. So you want to make a computer game with your brother. You're both starting computer science, so programming is not an issue. From your experience, should you start with 2D or 3D? Okay, that's an interesting question. The best answer is the first answer I'm going to give is and I'll say probably the foremost answer is what do you and your brother care about most? What are you most interested in? Because that will matter a lot more than the details of 2D versus 3D. Because if you're doing the choice you don't care about, you're more likely to stop. And then you won't get anything accomplished regardless of what you do because you would have given up at that point, right? So before anything else, you want to make sure that you're going to keep working on it. So choose the one that's most interesting for you. Now, as for the benefits of 2D versus 3D, 2D, you have one less axis to concern yourself with. So that's not necessarily a good thing or bad thing, I'm just saying. You have one less axis to concern yourself with. You can usually care about performance less and stuff like that. Depends on what you do. Although you probably won't care in either way because what you're going to be doing is not going to matter. So you have ideas for both types of games. Interested in both, but no experience whatsoever on art. Okay. Or game dem in general. Yeah. It matters a little bit what framework you're gonna end up using, because you're not gonna probably make it from scratch. I really doubt you'll make it from scratch, and you probably shouldn't make it from scratch. You should probably use an existing framework like Unreal Engine 4, like CryEngine, like Unity, like I think Game Maker is another one, and I can't remember the names of a lot of these, but there's a lot of 2D and 3D game engines you can just use and use their tools, right? Godot, Mira's talking about as well. So there's all of that. Now, 3D, you can get away with typically less detail than 2D. Ogre 3D is a big one. Just make software and databases, nice. Want to use EV4? Okay, cool. 3D, one of the benefits of 3D is you can get away with a lot lower resolution and a lot less detail and kind of have the computer do what you need, right? Like, I'll give an example. I'm going to show a video that I made. Where did it go? That I made. This is not a game, it's a actual movie. GPU footage, there we are. Oh no, wrong one. Open VLC.
Crossfire.
Okay. So, in 3D, this looks kind of cool, right? Well, this is a generated background from Filter Forge. You'll need to know that. This is a cylinder, this is a cylinder, this is a plane, and, this is a plane. So, this kind of cool looking scene is 2 planes and 2 cylinders. It takes probably a matter of 3 minutes to draw once you actually know what you're doing, and that's going to take a long time. Now, something like this guy here, this takes a lot longer. This is like a couple boxes. This one is an actual SVG image. So it took a little while time. The GPU obviously took a little time. The CPU obviously took a little time. Cylinder is a cylinder with beveled notches. Not beveled notches, sorry. I cut edge loops and extruded. Well, not extruded. It's there's a couple ways of doing it. You can cut 2 loops and do a scale, or you can do inset face and then cut in. There's a couple ways you can do it, but anyway. Here it's a couple boxes with a couple circle stick cylinders cut out, but it actually is a bit of time because when you do all this many booleans, Blender really hates you. But I mean, like, for example, this big scene here is what I was gonna kind of show off. Mute. There we are. So, see all this stuff slide in. Looks kind of impressive, but really it's, you know, box, couple of, well, 3 cloned. It's only one thing, but I cloned these 3 times and I turned this one backwards so it looks different. But it's like a bunch of boxes, right? This is not a lot of really intricate, I mean the horse is, but everything else is not really intricately drawn stuff. But it looks impressive because you can make it so that way it, you know, surrounds the camera or whatever. But like I said, it's really just, you know, box with some extra detail cut in, another box, another box, another box, another box, another box, a box with detail cut in, box, 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 right? There is not a lot of real detail in a lot of this, but it looks impressive, right? So you're looking into Blender, you can try a student version of Maya for practicing. So I bought a student version of Maya back in 2006, I think it was. Maya 8, it was when it first came out, not 8.5, 8. And I have the box over there. It cost about $400 Canadian. And it was non-commercial, so I couldn't use it for anything commercial. And I loved it. It was a really good program. However, at around 2011, 2012, really taking it seriously when I started Check It 2014, and a little bit before I was doing some stuff as well in Unreal Engine, but Check It was the one I really took it seriously on. I switched to Blender because it was free and usable for commercial purposes, because I figured that the amount of dollars per hour I would spend learning Blender is probably cheaper in dollars per hour than I would spend buying another copy of Maya, right? Box language. I was just pointing out the number of boxes in this scene. It showed a pretty interesting scene, but it's just a bunch of boxes, right? As a matter of fact, the clouds are just cylinders I joined together. Although that was a bit more annoying because you don't want to boolean those because they're kind of mutually overlapping. You want to actually manually do it, and that was a bit annoying. But yeah, and the materials are just solid colors, right? But it looks visually impressive, and you can do that sort of stuff in 3D, and 2D it's going to take a lot more hand drawing to do that. That being said, I mean, physics would probably be a little bit easier in 2D, especially when you start dealing with game code, like, you know, wall jumping and stuff like that. But that's probably going to be done by the framework anyway, so you shouldn't care. You'll just be using whatever character movement components they have with your additions to it, if you have any extra movements like shooting or you know, wall jumps or stuff like that. But like the amount of detail for 3D is pretty low for having something impressive, right? Like even the GPUs and stuff that I drew, it's 2 models that I copied and changed the material of. The only thing I actually really drew that wasn't like solid color is like the PCI Express slots. I took a bullet-shaped Photoshop brush and I just kind of scoured it down an edge to make the pins, and then solid color, solid color, solid color. All this detail is all in the geometry with the lighting. Solid color but metal, solid color, more diffuse. little anisotropic metal here, there, right? Yeah, if you want to sell or make money off it, you won't be able to, but if you learn Blender, you will. That said, if you like Maya over Blender, to the point where you try to learn Blender and you should give up, then maybe Maya was better to get into. I think that, especially after the last 2 years, 3 years, Blender is good enough that if you're getting into it, it probably won't be any more of a steeper learning curve than getting into Maya or getting into something else. And from that point on, you will know a piece of program that you can use for free commercially forever. And more importantly, and this is what the part I really like as well, because programming I like, one of the benefits of Blender is that if something goes wrong or I need a feature, I don't have to, hobble it together in a scripting language, even though it does have access to Python. I can just make my own version of Blender with my feature rolled in, maybe contribute back, maybe not, if I don't have to release it, right? And just have that be that. Done, right? Now, if you do release your version of Blender, you have to release the source code as well, but that's not important. If it's personal, you don't have to. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but copyleft only really covers when you need to actually have your thing released. If it's a personal use, it doesn't leave your machine. You don't have to give up all of your test builds, for instance, right? Only stuff you release as a program, not as data, like for the video. Anyway, so if something does, I mean, it's good to do it anyway, but it's good to release your content anyway. But yeah. So these are all very, very low detail assets, but I mean, you can make it look pretty impressive just by having decent lighting and stuff like that. Decent materials. Diffuse versus. I think I chose every metal to be anisotropic metal, but still, it doesn't have to be. It could be just a more glossy metal. I mean, anisotropic can be glossy by setting a roughness down, but yeah, I mean, that's a good idea. And even still, when you're talking about an initial project and you want to just get into the gameplay mechanics and having something that works, you're not going to want to make all these crazy high-end, character models and stuff like that. For a gameplay loop, you don't know if it'll work or not. Have it be a box, right? You can make a box in less time than it takes me to describe how to make a box. Export it and just have that be your character model. Or you can use Unreal Engine has not demo guy, that's Unreal Tournament, but the crash test dummy looking guy. You can have him be your character until you actually know what you're doing. Have a good gameplay mechanic. Then you can make a good 3D character for that as well if you want, up to whatever level of detail you care about. But you can have boxes be your level, boxes even be your character, things like that. You're getting interested in AI from a really good teacher you have, so you want to practice techniques in video games like NPCs. Okay. Like I said, you can have a lot of those be like boxes or cylinders, and from a gameplay loop, who cares? It will be understandable what you're talking about. Yeah. And there's also free assets, as he said, in the starter content. So, yeah, you can do all that. Anyway, let's move back to... Oh my gosh, it's almost 11. Okay, let's get back to this. So for possible move and possible moves. Will be cursing equals true. I'll say be running equals true. F against vector offset equals is possible move dot director destination. Move equals possible move dot type of move while be running. I can't type. Help me to clear your mind. Thanks. Remember to follow to see when I'm streaming again. All right. Actually, I think you followed for a long time. Yeah, no, that's the point of the stream, right? So, if that can be helpful while making a video game, that's awesome. I'm glad I could help. So, be running equals first. Sorry, what am I doing? Possible move dot be allow recursion. Allow only one run. Oh, I didn't do my. Oh no, okay, I did origin. Oh, okay. Okay, so now current location plus equals offset, which FN vector will be add each component wise. So origin or current location dot x equals current location dot x plus offset dot x. Current location dot y equals offset dot y plus current location dot y. Current location dot z equals offset.z plus current location.z. Even though it should only be 2D, but you know. Yeah, you've been following for a long time, yeah. Okay, now I need to have the can or cannot enter tile thingy. Okay. Okay, so now we need to find out whether we can enter this tile or not. So, a tile, this tile equals, let's do current tile, equals, get tile at coordinate, current location. Oh, I can't do that. Oh no. Well, I can do that for a tile, but I can't do that for the piece. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. T array F P state. Initial pieces. So in terms of normal moves, I'll just pass it a I'll pass it my level pieces array. But in terms of AI, I'll pass it in a I'll pass it in a P state from my level pieces array. But in terms of AI, I will actually. Okay. To all pieces. And the reason why is because in future iterations, I'm going to want to, kill pieces, move pieces, and stuff like that. On the AI thread especially. And I want this to be able to account for that, so I'll kind of have to pass it in the current state. Okay. Tile coordinate, current tile, good. If current tile I mean, I had some way to actually have like in blueprints where when you do a cast, you have a case of true or false, and if you don't link it off, it's assumed just to return or whatever. You guys have had some way to do that kind of cleanly in C++ as opposed to doing this extra 4 lines of checking pointers each time. You just have it be like, if I do it and it's a null pointer, just kind of exit out, but have it kind of be explicit, like, just exit out, right? You obviously don't want to have that be on on all possible sections, because you wouldn't know if you ran across a null pointer. But if you could, it'd be nice to have some way of saying, like, cleanly, in case of null pointer, just return a default or a fail value, either return nothing or return null, right? There's probably a way of doing it in C++ as well, but Actually, isn't there a null pointer check in Unreal Engine? I keep getting confused with check from unit testing, but before macro check null pointer. Yeah, I don't. I'm on Twitch chats. No, that's right. I'm not on Twitch chat. I'm on Hex chat. So emoji only appears as text. So I see Vohio, give please, take energy, give please, Yohio, 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 Yohio. as like words. So yeah, of course it's a good practice. Is there some way of not assertion? I thought there was. I know I looked for it recently, but I thought there was an actual command or an instruction, a statement. Sorry, that would check to see if a pointer is valid, like it's valid low level or something like that. Oh no, yeah, that's right. It's the same thing as null pointer check. Right, so it wouldn't save me anything. It was just, yeah. I was confused. Okay. If current tile, what am I doing? Oh, you. There we are. So I want to replicate canary tile. For tile state. Be enabled. And I also had to get L in range too, right? Oh no, his talent range I have to change too. Crap. Because in talent range doesn't conform to all pieces because the king can move, right? Yeah. This is gonna be ugly. Okay, let's stop for today. It's past 11, so thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you all next time. And this is made in Blender, by the way. Actually, 2 blenders. 1 blender for the logo, 1 blender for the pieces. I combine them in After Effects.